Married at First Sight. All of our couples got to meet their in-laws, have a sit-down meal with them, and then our couples headed off for the first day of their honeymoon. We might as well just run through all our couples and go over what happened today. Let's start with Christina and Henry. So Christina seems like she gets along with Henry's family very well. As much as I think Henry's dad is just a little bit too much, a little bit over the top, Christina seemed very receptive to that and seemed genuinely happy to have them in her life. On the other end of the spectrum, Henry sits down with Christina's family, and in spectacular Henry fashion, he brought the awkward. You know, they were asking him all these questions, and Henry was just hitting them with just one-word answers. I don't know if he had an answer to a question that wasn't yes or yep. Like he was just agreeing with anything they said. Just kind of seems like that's part of his personality, and hopefully we get to see him come out of his shell a little more as the season progresses. I thought that Henry's meal with Christina's family was going quite poorly until Henry asked them a question about her, and that really seemed to really spark some light in everyone there. They seem like they deeply love and care about Christina, and anyone that is a positive thing in her life, they're going to be very happy with. So even though that meeting went off to an awkward start, I'm glad that things turned around for Henry as the meal progressed. Off onto the honeymoon, not much to report there. I did enjoy the little scene of Christina and Henry doing the shot together. I thought maybe she was going to employ a tactic of just getting Henry hammered to get him out of his shell. You know, Christina was really trying to get some information, get him going there. And, you know, Henry actually seems very comfortable with her. It's just he doesn't really say that much. You know, he's happy just being there. He's happy just to have her by his side, and hopefully that is all right, and that's something that they can both grow to not only be comfortable with, but love about having the other person around. All right, let's jump over to Miles and Karen. You know, that sit down between Miles and Karen's family, I thought it was going to be a disaster. Major round of applause for Miles for how he handled that and somehow managed to win over Karen's mother. You know, she has been pure negativity all season long, and we see that little after interview with her after sitting down with Miles, and she's got a smile on her face. She's happy about her daughter being married to Miles, and wow, what a turnaround. Miles, you're either a grade A smooth talker, or you know, you really pulled off a miracle there. Karen really seems like she's just still looking for reasons for the marriage to fail. And, you know, we saw that before the wedding even happened. She was coming into that relationship with so much negativity, you know, almost to a point where she didn't even walk down the aisle to get married just because she didn't like what she saw about Miles on Instagram, thought he had too many feelings, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully she can kick the attitude to the curb, because, you know, I really do think that they're a good match, but she has to be willing to give the relationship a try in order for it to succeed. So that's my big question mark about that couple right now, but we will have to see how their relationship develops as we move deeper into the season. Next up, let's jump over to Amani and Woody. I was really disappointed by Amani's sit down with Woody's family. When Woody's mother came out and said she's seen the devil come out of that boy in relation to him losing his temper. What an awful thing to say about your own son. You know, everyone's got mad at some point in their life, but she made it sound like every time he gets mad, he absolutely loses his cool. And, you know, maybe that is the case. I sure hope it isn't. But you could see that Amani did go and just talk to Woody, didn't jump to any conclusions. And I really thought that that was a very huge thing for that relationship, for Amani to actually just go and talk to Woody about this issue that got brought up. You know, they talked and seemed like Woody totally acknowledged that, you know, that was an issue in the past, and he's since gone to counseling. He's really feels like he's found where all that anger and rage came from and addressed it. So hopefully that's true. And I'm glad that the way those two handled it. And I'm really optimistic about that relationship. You know, they're super flirty with each other. They seem to just have a little grin on their face, just being around the other person. And to me, those are very good signs at this point. They seem like they're pretty comfortable with each other and getting closer with each passing day. Woody's maybe a little bit too fixated on the sex side of things, where we keep coming back to that. Anytime some sort of innuendo comes up, you see Woody light up like, ooh, yeah, let's talk about sex. So hopefully that's not something that looms over that relationship, because I'm really rooting for them. I like what I've seen from those two so far, and hope that we see lots more in the coming weeks. All right, next up we have Olivia and Brett. You know, I've had a lot of negativity towards Brett, but Olivia and Brett genuinely seem like a great match so far. I'm just kind of waiting for that ugly side of Brett to rear its head, and just you know it's going to happen at some point. He can't go the whole season without that side of him that we saw at the start of the season rear its ugly head. And you know, I hope that things work out for them, but I still don't have that huge level of confidence in this couple quite yet. You know, they're on the honeymoon. There could get to be some alcohol involved here, and we'll have to see just how Brett behaves under those stresses, because, you know, that first person that we met to start the season, he was not someone I would want anyone I know to be in a relationship with. And, you know, maybe that's just him trying to be a macho guy, or is that's how he thinks he's supposed to behave around the boys or the bros. And I just hope that it goes away. You know, maybe it is something he can put in his past, but we will just have to wait and see. I was also just waiting for more awkwardness between that meeting, or the brunch with Olivia and Brett's brothers. You know, I thought it was going to go way worse. It actually went not too bad. So maybe there's a little hope there for that couple. As far as Brett and his sit down with Olivia's family, and they just dove straight into religion. And I'll have to say, big props to Brett for just not beating around the issue. He just said his stance, and that was that. And good for him, because, you know, it is a very important subject for some people, but also just the way he handled it, with basically saying, you know, I respect your religion, I respect her religion, but I'll just ask that you respect my beliefs or lack of beliefs in turn. So good for you on that, Brett. And you know, we're starting to get a little more positivity for Brett. Lastly, we have Amelia and Bennett. I thought I really disliked their brunches with their new in-laws. Both had just one terrible question in each. Amelia having lunch with Bennett's family, and everything seemed to be going so well, and then Bennett's sister just comes out of the blue and says, like he will never have kids. He will only adopt. And it's like, what? Like, don't you think that's a conversation for Amelia and Bennett, not for Amelia and Bennett's sister? Just very bizarre to me. And then Bennett sitting down with Amelia's family, and the topic of Amelia potentially having her residency anywhere in the United States, and wanting to know if Bennett is willing to move across the country for Amelia. Definitely a conversation that Amelia and Bennett need to have, but probably not a conversation that they're ready to have after knowing each other for less than 24 hours. Very, very bizarre. And I just, there was so much good going on in that relationship. And now, like, these little cracks have just been chipped into that relationship just by family members sticking their nose where they shouldn't. There's so many things to love about Amelia and Bennett. You can even see the other couples thinking that they're so perfect together. And everybody's rooting for them at home, and we all want to see them stay together, and we don't need anyone meddling in that relationship to trying to weaken their bond or disrupting that marriage in any way. Everything that they talked about was issues that they could have talked about and sorted out themselves. They're topics that they would have brought up probably even within the first week of the marriage. And now, they don't really get to approach those topics on their terms. They were kind of thrust into those very difficult conversations and in possibly difficult decisions, basically on the first date. You usually don't talk about having kids on the first date. You usually don't ask your first date if they would move across the country for you. It's just not the way things work. And it would have been nice if they would have had the opportunity to discuss those things on their own terms and in due time. All right, I think that's going to wrap up our recap for the week. Another great episode. Looking forward to the honeymoons next week. And until then, I will see you all later.